So we're going to read a passage from Galatians 5:13. We're going off the script today. What script? No, there is no script. Not for us down here. There are a series, if you're in the midst of the Words of Jesus That Changed the World study that's going on at the church now. If you go across the street, JJ will be preaching from Adam Hamilton's book. And Adam's a good guy, super nice guy. He's a great teacher. I'll just leave it there. And this morning, though, we're going to be reading from Galatians. And I've got this interesting notebook in my arms, and I'm going to read a couple of things to you from it. And it's a notebook. I don't know, how many of you are journal? Like with any kind of regularity? Journalers in the house? Raise your hand. I have so much respect for journalers. So much respect. Like pouring out feelings and thoughts. I mean, do you do it every day? Every day? That's crazy. I mean, that's great. Better out than it. Yeah. It's recommended by so many mental health professionals as a way. I had a friend in seminary, brilliant guy. He is a professor over at the University of Aberdeen now. Works with N.T. Wright, if you've ever heard of Tom Wright. N.T. Wright, he's a famous New Testament and Old Testament theologian. Probably one of the great minds of the late 20th, early 21st century. Fantastic books. Surprised by Hope is one of his books. If you're looking for a book to read about afterlife, if you're looking for a book to read about heaven and those pieces, then N.T. Wright's book called Surprised by Hope, I'd unequivocally recommend. I mean, it's just a fantastic book. And so, had a bunch of wonderful people in that space, and I think Tom was also a journaler. I respect that so deeply because of just getting everything out. And the ability to commit to it every day is next level. If you haven't done it, may encourage you to try it. Give it a rip. I have so many notebooks at my house that are about a third full of starts and stops, and every single one begins exactly the same way. So I'm going to give another try to this journaling thing, and then it carries on, and it's fantastic. I think I have to write something. See, do you have the burden of thinking you have to write something profound? Okay. Maybe I should try that. Well, yeah. I figured it out. I think I figured it out that for whatever generation, someone discovers my journals, my many aborted attempts at journaling, they'll look and they'll go, "Oh my gosh, this guy was really sharp." I don't know, discover ancient writings. So I feel pressure to put quotes and sound smart and lots of, associative learning stuff. So language and history, and if I can include some reference to some scientific principle, I try to do it. And it's a lot. This notebook, by the way, is different. And the reason this notebook is different is because it really forms a complete season of life. It references a couple of things that are really amazing to me, personally. One of those is Blake's notebook. And the reason it has Blake's notebook is because every notebook I buy becomes a kid's notebook. And I have notebooks and notebooks full of a single drawing on each page. And my wife hates me because I keep all of them. How do you throw those away? It's like a chronicle of your family life. This, however, I started on the first day of the shutdowns for COVID. And so there are some things in here. And I was reading some of it to Kristen before, and it really was kind of interesting. But first, I want to read this passage from Galatians 5:13. I love this passage. I have a conflicted, complicated relationship with the Apostle Paul. There are some things that he says that I'm just like, man, dude, really? It's difficult to read. This is not one of them. Because we like to talk about freedom and liberty up in the United States of America. You were called to freedom, brothers and sisters. Only, don't let this freedom be an opportunity to indulge your selfish impulses. Will you please read this passage with me? You were called to, come on, freedom. Brothers and sisters, only don't let this freedom be an opportunity to indulge your selfish impulses, but serve each other through love. That is the word of God for the people of God. And we say, thanks be to God. So often that we think of liberty or freedom as something that we possess and that we engage and that it is really ours, and it's an exercise of personal kind of, agency. I mean, we find ourselves being the primary agents of our own lives when we exercise our freedoms. Now, here's the interesting thing, though. Jesus preaches, teaches, lives, dies, and is resurrected. And Paul comes to this place in the letter to the church in Galatia, and he says that, you've got freedom. However, so many people are using this to indulge their selfish impulses. We don't know any of those people in this country, do we? I want to meddle today. I'm feeling very meddlesome today. But instead, because that's our natural impulse, the more liberty, the more freedom we have, the more we think we get. But what we're being told here is don't indulge your selfish impulses with this freedom, but in love, serve one another. The word that Paul uses here is the word doulos, and it means bondservant or slave. He's not talking about a simple kind of one-off service. He's not thinking about, he's not telling us and teaching us that we need to have a thought, and for that thought to be in our hearts and to consider ourselves servants. What he's saying is, use your freedom to serve in love. So here's the thing for me as a citizen of the United States of America and a lifelong resident. What are we doing with our freedoms and our liberty here? How does the world know us? I also read a lot of history books. And I also keep a pretty tight eye on our military budget. I say in different places we are known for different things, but I would love it if as a nation we were known as a nation of loving servants. Microphone drop. It's too hard. It doesn't have the same effect when you unclip a microphone and no. So when I think about this notebook, part of the things that were entering my mind was, in the times of COVID, in the beginning, when it was all uncertainty, when we didn't know. I have friends all over. I have at Mayo. I have some of the NIH, CDC folk, and I was calling. People were asking, and I didn't want to be the guy who didn't have an answer. And so I'm calling everybody. These nerds that just commit their entire lives to studying one thing? Those are the ones that we should be listening to. P.S. Those are the ones. Because they don't care about anything else. You give them just a little bit of money, and they're just going to sit there and stare at their microscope. It's the most amazing and incredible kind of hyper-focused life in the world. And so I was trying to figure this out. But as I was trying to figure it out, I also had 4 kids in my house who were looking at me, not knowing what was going on in a world that they had always known as being something else. And so I started this journal, and I started writing things down. It's funny that the first thing, and I've told you before that I am hesitant to say anything about heaven. The first thing that I wrote on was on heaven. I'm going to read this to you. It's a poem by William Henry Harris. Bring us, O Lord God, at our last awakening into the house and gate of heaven. To enter into that gate and dwell in that house. Listen to this. Where there shall be no darkness, nor dazzling, but one equal light. No noise nor silence, but one equal music. No fears or hopes, but one equal possession. No ends or beginnings, but one equal eternity. In the habitation of thy glory and dominion, world without end. If you want that, I can give it to you. It's the best. And when people ask me what's heaven, that's it. We like to think about all the good, but it really is, it's whatever God has it to be. And we know that it's not going to be any of the things that we think. Oh, I have some Fred Rogers quotes in here. This is great. There is one piece, though, that I wanted to get to pretty quickly, and I'm going to go ahead and get to it. In here, I wrote, at the challenge of a colleague, Her name is Emily Birch Alkema. She was Emily Birch at the time. She's a campus minister at the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville and is probably as organized and as sharp a human as I've known. She was this tall and, well, actually, maybe this tall. But, every now and again you run into someone and you realize that they are so well disposed between the ears that you just need to kind of put something on the table, back up, and listen to them talk about it. Emily was one of those people. Emily is also a person who has this extraordinary ability to see through any sort of edifice. So if you came and you were posing or you had a mask on, Emily could see through it, which is terrifying to most people, but which is glorious to me because most people think that the way I present is a mask. It's not. This is it. I wouldn't take all that comes with it if it weren't real. And so Emily could see that. So she's one of the few people who didn't think I was just putting on, but that she could see the things. And I said, what are we going to do in campus ministry? What are we going to do in our churches? Because I have a long list of issues with organized religion, with our churches, with our church, with all ministries in general. And I said, how can we begin moving forward? And she said, Blake, I think what you need to do is sit down and write down what you believe to be the marks of a maturing Christian. And she said, keep it brief. She said, if you have a 10, that's good. I mean, I have 15, so that's okay. And some of them overlap. But I want to share this with you today. Because if you think this was in 2016 of 2015. So this was actually deposited in my COVID notes because I was basically reevaluating everything. We didn't know what was going to happen next. So I wanted to get back down to basics. Oh, actually, it says actually 717 LOL. So I was off by a day on my own accounting. It says revision 1. I've never updated this, by the way. So I'm going to offer these to you, and then I'm going to give you a quote. So this is the mark of a maturing Christian. If you want to know what a maturing Christian looks like. The first thing is one beggar showing another beggar where to find bread. It's my favorite definition of evangelism. One, it assumes that we know we are beggars. See, one of my main issues with church people in general is that we forget we're begging. This famous quote says about beggars, if you cannot see Jesus in the beggar at the door, you will not find him in the chalice. Bring it, right? It's not that you won't see him. It's that if you can't see Jesus in the one that seems to be the other, Jesus will not be present for you there. I love it. One beggar showing another beggar, not one beggar telling another beggar, right? It seems like we do that in the church too. We point. We say, look, see? It's one beggar showing another beggar where to find bread. If you really love that amazing grace of Christ, then you know what I'm talking about, right? This is the thing that saved a wretch like me and that calls us to share that with others. One, a growing desire to commune with God, Father, Son, Spirit, to live in God's presence. And this is through service, worship, communion, etc., and community. An ever-increasing capacity and expression of kindness. If you're a maturing Christian, you should want to be more kind. And not just be more kind, but express kindness. 3, one who engages the realities of our world and life while relishing the mysteries of God. The Magnum Mysterium et Admirabile Sacramentum. Right? Throw that quote up there by Callistos Ware. This guy is an Orthodox priest in England. His name is Timothy, but Callistos is his name in the church. We see, and I've quoted this to you, it is not the task of Christianity to provide easy answers to every question. Folks, if you don't want to talk about God and Jesus in your life or live it out in public because of the pressure of feeling like you have to have answers, this is beautiful for you. But to make us progressively aware of a mystery. We just become more aware of God's amazing mystery. God is not so much the object of our knowledge, but the cause of our wonder. Every time you look out, if it is to the depths of the ocean or to the expanses of the cosmos, what you're actually doing is being in utter awe of God. It's the coolest thing in the world. God is not an object for us to possess. God cannot be fully known by us. We don't have the capacity for it. But God is supposed to be the cause of our wonder. This is a cool thing. If you ever put kids together, there was over at Park Magnet, there's an amazing planetarium that showed up, and Myra came home with all kinds of lessons about space and stars, and the favorite constellation, I think, is Orion because it has the star Betelgeuse in it, and my kid is kind of obsessed with like the play in the movie Beetlejuice, both the old one and the new one. So if you want to know anything about Beetlejuice, the movie, just ask Myra, and you'll know everything about it. Has a star in it. We talked about Rigel, and we talked about Sirius, and we talked about all of the amazing stars and constellations. I love the fact that when you put those kids in a room together, they just want to be in awe of something. And we have that thing. It's an amazing love that literally spins the cosmos. God's wonderful, creative, and absorbing power and light. Everything we have is a gift. It's not important that we know everything about it, but that we just want to walk together into the mystery. And I hope that you've gotten that from me. That's why I love it, that we want to engage the realities of life. Because you live in a real world. We cannot afford to be philosophers in this house. We can love the knowledge, but always remember that it is subjugated to the awe of our Creator. So while relishing the mysteries, the Magnum Mysterium is the great mystery, and the Admirabile Sacramentum is the admirable sacrament, the person of Christ. An honest, ongoing development of self-understanding, perspective, and all that entails. Read Psalm 51. Read Psalm 51, and instead of seeing David as the one who is begging God not to leave him, make that you. Make the words of David your words. An irrepressible desire to connect and live with others, unsatisfied with life merely among others. I like this one. I did this okay. But striving for life with and for others. That's Galatians 5:13. Irrepressible desire to connect and love others. Unsatisfied, perpetually unsatisfied, just to live among other humans, but to live with them and for them. And that's different. Let's see. Wears an apron, not a bib. If you want to know a maturing Christian, you know you can eat with aprons. I've said this before. See, this is me, right here. I think I've been preaching this for the last 4 years. That's great. Bibs. Don't come and ask me to feed you. Put your apron on. You can feed yourself with an apron, but you're also going to do work today. I love that. Committed to being a shepherd. Oh. You know that the language of pastor and pastoral is a language of shepherding and sheep. It's all through the Bible. In the New Testament, oh, no, okay. It's great. Jeremiah 3:15, I've got that in there too. To lead others to pasture, set to grazing, cause to eat. Lives, Matthew 7 and in Luke 11, ask, seek, knock lifestyle. Always searching and persistent. Lives the mind of Christ, Philippians 2:3-11. Have that mind in you that was in Christ Jesus. Though having the prerogative of God, took on the form, the morphe, the being of a human. And in that showed us this great love. It's a fantastic passage. You read that, Philippians 2:3-11. It's called a Christological hymn. Humility, others greater than self. It's great. Always possesses a teachable heart. Have you ever bumped into a Christian person who sounded like they had their ears and their heart closed? This is the only way this works. This is the true faith. This is exactly how you do it. That's wild to me that we think we figured it out. Possess a teachable heart. That's what my mom always told me too, that the teachable heart is a gift from God. There's a book called Zen Guitar, and it says that you should always have the mind of a novice. Have the mind of a novice. Proverbs says, always have the mind of one being taught. So if we walk in, and instead of thinking we are the ones who have the knowledge that others need, thinking that we have something to learn from someone else who walks through the door, whose name we may not know, it sets us up for relationship with them, which is where all the magic happens. It's great. Encourage and cultivates growth of faith. Okay, well, got a couple more. Connects in their own, I love this. Connects in their own story to the larger story of God and His people. So understand that this is not just your life, that you are a part of a larger story, that you're part of a larger narrative. I've been rereading the Iliad lately, and I'm going to tell you, as an adult, rereading the Iliad is a completely different thing. Because I also have a collection of books that I keep around me, making sure that I understand all of the cultural implications, the language that's being used. I always want to know what word was translated so I can see if there are more meanings to that word to add a little more flavor, a little more color, a little more spice, put some stank on it when you read the Iliad. Go back and read the Iliad. It's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, that's the way to do it. And it becomes more exciting. And the same way with the Bible. If you ever want to dig in, do a little word study. That'll open your mind to brand new things. We were talking about knowing a little bit of Hebrew today, and how knowing Hebrew or Greek can open the Bible to you in ways that otherwise wouldn't, because otherwise you're just relying on other people to translate what was an entire thought into a single word in 21st century English. That is a that is a Sisyphean task. You know, the guy who rolls the rock up and it rolls back down on top of him? Yeah, the little Greek mythology. We're going to get it all today, y'all. This is packing in. I got 2 more minutes. Let's go. Attachment to relationships, not to objects or your occupation. You want me to tell you who the greatest offenders of this are? Your pastors. Because all too often we connect who we are to standing up here and doing this thing. But see, to me, my role as pastor is not the most important thing. My relationship with you, Mel, is more important. Our relationships with each other are more important. To live lives together, to be a part of someone else's experience of this beautiful thing we call life. That's what we're about. We get to do that every week here in a very special way. Attachment to relationships. Why? Because people are sacred, things are not. All the stuff you have will dissolve. One day, like our bodies, it will become star stuff again. It's an amazing process, by the way. The transformation of matter and energy and the relationship of those things, how neither are created or destroyed, but it's an amazing ecosystem that God has set up. Your relationships and the people are sacred. The things are not. So let's prioritize those. In a maturing Christian, that's what matters. Looks less for simple answers and more. There it is again. Love your neighbor enough to bring someone else into the relationships. The reason I wanted to share those with you today is because my time here is limited. I know that. And one thing that I wanted to let you know is there is a process for us as well. And we walk through this process just like you would. If you walked through and you said, what are the marks of a loving person of faith? My guess is you would land in some of these same places. And for us together, the most important thing is to work this out. And so on Sundays, when we get together, when we celebrate together, when we share in what it is we're doing here in this space, what we're actually trying to do is lean more into the relational components and push off to the side all the threats and all the incursions of all the things that our world would tell us about what we're supposed to be doing. The cool thing about this group of people, and I know you well enough to know this, the cool thing about this group of people is that I think you get it. There's a reason I'm not up here saying, oh, gosh, you guys just don't get it. The relationships seem not to matter. The relationships truly seem to matter. And so what I want to do, whoever stands up on this stage, is to encourage you to not look for those simple answers, but to lean more into the mystery, to make God the subject of your wonder, the cause of your wonder, and then to share that with all those you meet. Thank you for letting me share this with you today. And there are other, in this notebook, I also thank the bees for reminding me that we are all part of a larger system. So if you get a chance, thank some bees. The clover's growing. But let's have a word of prayer. Almighty God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the glory of your presence. We thank you for the wonder of your love. We thank you that as finite as our bodies are, that our spirits may embrace the fullness of your eternity. We thank you that we have been called not to be a people who just dwell here for ourselves, but to use the greatest liberties and freedoms we have to love and serve others in the name of Christ. Help us today to do that just a little bit better. And we thank you for all these things. And as we sing our last song and walk from this place, that you would charge and challenge us to consider what it is that you have given us and what it is we are called to do with it.